Hey guys, what's up? It's Jonathan with One Big Impact. So today's video is actually how many meals in a day should I be eating? Let's get started. Okay, so you've probably heard me say time and time again, 5 meals a day, activate your metabolism, work, work, work. You know, you need your body to not feel like it's in starvation mode. Your body has plenty of nutrients throughout the day to be able to just release excrement and actually process the food properly. I still believe in that 100%. But here's what I'm gonna say. Let's talk about this for a minute. I eat 5 times a day personally for a specific reason. I eat 5 times a day for a specific reason, and that reason being that I have a food addiction and I need to feel full constantly. Now, I obviously I don't have to feel full. It's not like I'll die if I don't, but it works best for me, and that's why a low carb approach or an Atkins approach, induction phase, works so well for me. And why it did is because I eat, and then by the time I'm hungry again, I'm eating again. By the time I'm hungry again, I'm eating again. Some people don't have that problem, and that's okay. A lot of people are smaller people, and maybe they don't see themselves eating the amount of food that I eat in a single day. And that's okay too. A lot of the times those portions will be reduced. Obviously, a 200-pound guy that is very active, his level of calorie intake or his basal metabolic rate is going to be a lot higher than a 5'1" girl that weighs 100 pounds or 95 pounds or 98 pounds or whatever. So definitely keep that in mind. And that's okay that that person, they can eat 5 times a day too, but maybe they'll reduce, you know, their basal metabolic rate might be, let's say, resting metabolic rate might be, you know, 1,200 or 1,500 calories, and that's perfectly fine. So instead of eating 5 good-sized meals, maybe they'll eat 5 tiny meals or 3 tiny meals. So definitely keep that in mind. Your nutrition needs may be very different than the next person, so keep that in mind. A lot of people ask me if intermittent fasting is a good thing to do, and I will say that it can be very effective. A lot of the times it trains your mind not to overeat all throughout the day. Something you're gonna have to be careful for is when you're doing intermittent fasting, that you're not intermittent fasting, starving yourself, or fasting, you're basically starving yourself, or fasting for 16 hours, that once you do eat your nutrients, that you're not eating poorly. So it's important. A lot of people I hear every day, they say, well, you know, I was eating, you know, only once a day. Well, that depends on once a day, what you're eating once a day, and I'll talk about that later in the video. But it's important that you realize that if intermittent fasting can be very beneficial, because by fasting, your body gets rid of all the sugars and the carbohydrates, and it actually starts to work through the fat content. And that's a lot of the times while people will do fasted cardio and things like that, because that actually can burn fat rather than carbs and sugar, because you don't have any in your supply. Keep that in mind. I've also seen people eat twice a day and have that be effective for weight loss as well. Now that depends on exactly, you know, what your schedule is, what you're like. If you're a natural overeater and you feel like you have to have a constant feeling of being full, I think it's important that you probably eat, you know, more times a day, smaller meals, because once you eat, if you eat too much, now I'm not saying eat twice a day, eat what you would be eating in 5 meals. Because it's important, because then your portions are all screwed up, you're eating too much, your stomach is expanding, and then when you get hungry, you're gonna have a bigger void to fill. So it's important that you don't do that. The single most important factor is not really how many times a day you eat, but rather what you're eating and how much. A lot of times people say, well, you know, I'm only eating once a day like I talked about before, but what are you eating once a day? You know, are you eating, you know, 14-inch plate of lasagna with garlic bread on the side and, you know, a shake or something like that, and you go to bed and you can literally not move because you've consumed so much bad foods or bleached products or whatever. So definitely think about that. The next thing is, the most single important thing as well is, like I said, is what are you burning versus what are you consuming? So if you're burning, let's say 1,000 or 1,500 calories a day, you know, even just sitting there not doing anything. Say you're completely sedentary and you're burning 1,500 calories a day. Well, if you're consuming 2,000, unfortunately, and I'm not saying count calories or whatever, but it's important that you realize if you're burning 1,500 calories and you're consuming 2,000, you'll never lose weight. You have to be in a deficit. Otherwise, what you're consuming oversees what you're actually burning, and you're never going to see a result. So definitely keep that in mind. That's why I always say to incorporate exercise, drink lots of water in place of those cravings and stuff like that. So that's really important. Now, something I want to talk about real quick is going to be foods that you'll actually see in a regular American or today's society diets, or lack of diet, lack of lifestyle change, lack of meal planning. Okay, so something really basic that I dealt with on a regular basis, I'd go to I'll put this up so you can maybe use that as a guide. I'm not going to say the company, I'm not going to trash the company or whatever, but a fast food chain that specifically has lots of information online, and you can look at that. So if you ate at, say you ate at that place, you know, 3 times a day, or any fast food chain 3 times a day. I actually went on the website just recently and actually printed out all the stuff and did a little bit of calculations. So if you got fries, drink, a burger, and a shake, which is pretty normal. I mean, that's not crazy overeating. Maybe it is, but, and of course, you know, for 20 cents extra, you want to upsize. So everything's a large size or a super size or whatever. So keeping that in mind, that meal, you know, fries, burger, shake, and a drink, which is pretty normal. And I'm not saying I'm not going overboard. I've done way more than that sometimes. But keeping that in mind, the calorie intake for that specific meal, one meal is 2,080 calories. That's a lot. The carbohydrate content for that is 245. The grams of sugar is 151. So if you're only eating once a day, maybe you could get away with something like that. But the reality is you're not eating once a day. And the other reality is that's not whole foods. You're not eating good quality whole foods. I'm sorry, but if you eat a cheeseburger, you're gonna look like a cheeseburger. You know what I mean? Like if you eat a shake, you're gonna look like a shake. You're gonna shake when you run. You're gonna, you know, you have to keep that in mind. And if you are what you eat, you know, so if you eat like crap, you're gonna feel like crap. You're gonna look like crap. You're just gonna be feeling crappy overall. So definitely keep that in mind. On the other hand, I have a pretty substantially large meal that I'm going to cover with you real quick. Okay, so this is a pretty basic meal, but a very large one in comparison to some of the other ones. This is actually a pretty large meal. Usually they're only about half this size. And this is a meal plan that I created. And I'm going to cover that real quick. And the total, well, let me give you the total at the end. So this is 2 pieces of bacon, 1 5-ounce hamburger patty, 2 eggs, 2 hard-boiled eggs, 2 tablespoons of onion, we got some apple cider vinegar in there, mustard, half a Roma tomato, we have 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and 2.5 cups of salad. So it's a pretty substantial meal, and you're gonna get like 3 good sized plates of food. It's about the same. Maybe it's not gonna overly fill you like all the potatoes and stuff did from that fast food chain, but the total calories, remember the meal that I said before was 2,080 calories. This is a whole food meal plan, and it's pretty large. It's 703 calories. And if I have to look at it right now, it's about 5 carbs. Which one do you think is going to process through your body better? A lot of the times people say, well, I only eat once a day. Well, what are you eating once a day? Well, I stopped at McDonald's, or I stopped at Rally's, or I stopped at Burger King, or whatever you stopped at. Well, definitely keep that in mind. You are not eating good quality whole foods. I'm sorry. But if you eat a meal like this once a day, yeah, you could be potentially in a deficit. Do I recommend eating 700 calories a day? Probably not. Maybe for somebody that's super small, that could be a reality. You know, if their body requires 1,000 calories a day, if they dropped it down 250 to 300 calories a day, then you know they may lose a pound or 2 a week. So definitely keep that in mind. The moral of the story is, the question is, how many times should I eat a day? I want to say whatever works best for you. But I want to say also that if you're eating 2, 3, 5 times a day, I think it's important that you make sure that you're eating the correct portions as well as good quality whole foods. If you knock it down from 5 to 2 meals a day, make sure that you're getting the proper amount of nutrition, you're taking your daily multivitamin, you're drinking lots of water. A lot of the times if you feel like a soda or you feel like something crappy or whatever, do yourself a favor, get a nice big glass of water, because a lot of the times if you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated and your body is actually really starving for water. So you're not going to get any type of actual benefits from a soda or something like that. If you feel that you are, that's cool, but you're not ready to change your lifestyle. You guys, I hope this video helped you. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. And as always, remember that you are stronger than your excuses. Hashtag below, be stronger than your excuses. I expect you guys to have a stellar week. Tomorrow, Monday, is a new weigh-in, and I think you guys are gonna do great. Remember, be stronger than your excuses. Remember to spread love, not hate, and have a beautiful, most amazing, successful week, you guys. Peace. Hey guys, what's up? It's Jonathan with One Big Impact. So welcome, and it is the day that we're going to speak about,